Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'll be showing you how to build a RC ball differential. So I'm going to take this thing out of the bag, and then I'll show you all the individual parts. I'll lay them out, and then I can show you how to put it together. Alright, so this piece right here is the main diff gear, and all these little slots is where the balls go. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little tiny ridge. So one side you have facing up, and in person you can see it a little easier. But the side with these dots you put down so the balls don't fall through. These are the out drives that go right here and on the outside of the differential. These are the diff rings, and these are the actual diff balls. These are 3 30-second size balls. These balls go all around here, and these rings go in the little ridge of the out drive, and it helps it kind of a wear item, and you can flip these over and replace the rings. This is a thrust bearing, and this specific differential comes with a caged thrust bearing. So that's what this guy is right here. You can see the 6 balls on that cage, and the washers have a little ridge. So instead of having a flat washer and putting all the balls on it and making sure they don't squeeze out the sides, it's way easier to build. This is the T-nut and a little dust cover thing. On the out drive, this T-nut will go through, and then it becomes like a threaded nut. Here's the bolt that goes through the entire differential, and then here's the spring that goes on that thrust bearing. So I just barely put it all back in the bag, and then I noticed there's no bearings in here. Like, it's a complete differential, and the bearings go inside of it, and where are they? So I thought maybe mine didn't come with them or something. So right now I'm on A Main Hobbies, and then I'm looking. This is exactly what I bought. It was around that price. This is what I bought, and I don't see any bearings. So it looks like this kit right here just doesn't come with bearings. That's very weird. So right here is my instruction manual for building my B6.3, and as you can see, this is the part where you're putting together the differential, and the bearing size is a 5 by 8 by 2.5, and seeing that was very reassuring because that's one of the most common sizes of bearing there is. This is my bearing box. I mean, the most common is a 5 by 11 by 4, these guys. These are in like wheel hubs and stuff. But these ones right here, those are some steering rack things. But these bearings are all brand new, and I just have a bunch of them because it's a really common size that's used a lot. So luckily I have them. And then for a B6 ball diff, you're going to need 2 of them. A 5 by 8 by 2.5 millimeter bearing. Alright, now with the addition of 2 5 by 8 by 2.5 millimeter bearings, we can start building this ball diff. The first thing I'm going to do is with this plastic piece that's actually the T-nut that I showed you with that little metal insert. And this is a dust cover that you go on the other side. I gotta cut these off the sprue. These are some flush cutters that they don't leave an edge. So this plastic's super easy to cut. We just cut that. Cut the dust cover off. And now we'll start the ball diff building process. The first thing we gotta do is with this spring right here. Now the manual says to compress it. Some people just use a needle nose plier, but that can make it fly out into the abyss. I like to use these Nip-X pliers wrench because if you notice, they open straight, they open parallel. So you put it on here and just squeeze it. Now it's pre-compressed and we can continue to the next step. The next step would be with these out drives. You can see there's a little ridge right there. That's what these two rings go on. And you're supposed to use some silicone grease that comes in the package. This is actually probably super good and nice, but I prefer to use my own because it's in a syringe. But you could easily use this. This is what I used to use. It's perfectly fine. And on the thrust bearing, there's the black grease that comes in. Now again, this is probably perfectly fine to use, but I just prefer to use some Lucas red and tacky grease for this because it's high quality grease, and I like to put it in a syringe so it's easier to come out. Now yes, it's weird. Already, it's time to put the gloves on. Alright, so now we've got the out drives and I've zoomed in a little bit. Here are the diff rings, and they are in the same package as the balls, which is annoying because you might lose them. And I've got my silicone grease to put on. So what we're going to do is open this package. And I really don't want to lose these balls. So I'm going to squeeze them out very carefully. I'll do this in real time because I want to show you how to get them out. Alright, I'm just squeezing them out. Don't dump them. Don't dump it. It would be nice if they included it in separate bags. Okay, now this, very carefully fold it and put this off to the side. And now we've got our diff rings. So now let's put the grease on it. Before I work with any of this, I'm just going to put a blue shop towel down to give you guys a better background and so I don't get my desk all dirty and greasy. So I've got these two diff rings and these out drives. So what I'm going to do is get my syringe, just put a bead around it, a light bead, like that, see? And you spread it around with your finger. And we're going to do the same to the other side. Okay, just like that. Spread it around my finger. Now we're going to get these diff rings. And what I usually do is put a glob on my finger like that. And then I just kind of work it in my hand and get it all over. You can't put too much grease. Grease is really your friend, and it just makes the diff smoother. So this is, again, silicone grease I'm putting on. You can see that diff ring is covered in grease. And I grab this with my pinky because I don't want it on the out drive. I'm going to place it in the groove, just like that. Now work with the other one. Put a glob on my finger, like that. Now I'm going to work it on the diff ring. Like that, as you can see, it's fully coated in silicone grease. Again, grab it with my pinky because I don't want it on there because it attracts dirt. Alright. Now we put the diff ring on the outdrive. And no, this does not matter about which side goes on which. And these diff rings, it can be on either way. So once these get worn out and have a groove, you can actually flip them over and then get about another half life out of them. Now we're going to start putting the balls in the diff gear. And now here's the diff gear. There's some grease on it from my hands. You can see there's those 4 little marks right there. Those you want up. And this side has the 3 dimples. You have those down. That's because there's a little tiny flange in there, and it's on the 3 dimple side, so the balls don't fall through. So now I'm going to grab this bag of balls very carefully, and then I'm just going to dump them out on the paper towel extremely carefully, because if you lose one of these, if you're missing a ball, you really can't use the diff. You're going to have to buy a whole new set of balls. Okay, pretty successful. Now all of these I'm going to put in here. I'll do a couple right now, and then I'll turn to a time lapse. So usually what I do is I squeeze a little bit of silicone grease on my finger, just a tiny bit. And again, make sure the dimples are down. And then I stick it on the ball. You can see it acts almost like a magnet. It sticks to my finger. And then put it in the gear. Stick it down in the hole. Don't push really hard because it will go past. Just stick it in there just like that. Perfect. Now I'll do another one with you. See, it almost fell out. So I'm just going to push it in with my finger. Like that. So now that we've installed the balls in the ball diff gear, we're going to install the bearings on these outdrives. So the outdrive with the indentation, you put a bearing in, just like that. Perfect. And then inside this ball diff gear, you put another bearing. Like that in the middle. See that? Perfect how it's flush on both sides. Uh-oh, see that? See how a ball came out. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to install grease in the actual gear where these balls go. So I've got my syringe right here. Okay. And I'm just going to do a big loop. And remember, you can't really put too much grease. You really can't. Grease is your friend. So I do it till it's pretty much like, not sealed, but you can't see, there's no air going through. Then I flip it over and do the exact same. Just a thick bead slash coating on these balls. Just like that, see? Now, we're going to install the outdrives in the ball diff gear. But before we install these outdrives on the ball diff gear, we're going to set all these parts aside. And now we're going to work on the thrust bearing assembly, which is this guy. and we've got the bolt, the spring, and then here's the T-nut. So now let's cut open this thrust bearing. This is pretty easy to do compared to the previous thrust bearing that had just 2 washers and you put some 5/64 balls on it. This is way easier to build. So first what we do is get this bolt right here. See it? We've got this bolt, and what we're going to do is put one of these washers on, and these washers are they have a groove for this caged thrust bearing. It doesn't matter which side, the washers are the same. So I'm going to put a washer over it, and the head of the bolt is facing down and that groove is up. Then I'm going to get my red and tacky grease. Again, that black grease will work perfectly fine, just easier to apply with a syringe. So now we're just going to put a light coating and then kind of spread it around with your finger like that. Perfect. Then I'm going to kind of like pack the bearing with grease. Not really much. Just put kind of a glob on it and start squeezing it through the bearing so it's all over and inside the bearing. Just start squeezing it. See, perfect. As you can see, the bearing is full of that grease. Now we can install this caged bearing on the bolt. It doesn't matter which side it goes, down or up. I personally put the open side down. It doesn't matter. Just like that. Perfect. And then here is the other grooved ring. Right here. And then I'm just going to install some grease on it. See, in the grooved side. And the head of the bolt is down. I'm going to put the groove side down. So it all sandwiches that caged thrust bearing. Just like that. Perfect. Now that's your thrust bearing. Now we're going to install the entire ball diff assembly together. So first we're going to put the out drives onto the diff. And the diff is symmetrical. It does not matter which side goes on. We're going to put the nipple side in first, just because it's easier, just like that. And just to know, the side that has the indentation is the side the screw goes through on the outside, which is my left. So I push it together like this. Now this is the side that has the thrust bearing bolt. So now we're going to install the thrust bearing with its bolt assembly right down in that hole. This is when you're going to use a 2mm hex driver. Now you might be able to see that the actual threads are sticking up. Now we grab the thrust bearing spring. Just drop it down in there over the threads. Now here's the T-nut. You want to put the thread side most down so you don't put it upside down. So the flat side goes up like that orientation. Now it just slides in. I kind of push it in. Now what we're going to do is tighten it. Whoops. See, it falls out. What we're going to do is tighten it with the 2mm, and sometimes I kind of hold the T-nut. So now the 2mm is in, and we're going to start screwing it in slowly until it catches. See how it caught? Now it's screwing in. Now we're going to tighten it. Not crank it down, but till it stops. Okay. Okay, see how it stopped? Now what the manual says is you screw it in all the way and then back out about 1/8 of a turn. What I do, I like to end on a tightening stroke. So I screw it all the way in, then I loosen it 1/4 turn, then back 1/8. So it's the same setting. So I've tightened it all the way. Now on my MIP tool, it's got the logo, so I can show 1/4 like that, and go back 1/8, maybe a little less. Now we're gonna move the diff, make sure it's nice and smooth. Now this diff is brand new, it feels nice and perfect and smooth. Perfect diff. While I was building the diff, I totally forgot about the dust cover. Now I'm running an indoor clay track, so some people just don't put them on, but I'll put it on to show you. So the orientation, as you can see, these little ear things are offset. So the side that has them closest, so it's flat, is outside. And there still is a hole inside the dust cover where you can use your hex driver. So what we're gonna do, get the side that has the bolt, the head, and then slide it in like that, and just use the hex driver to push it down slowly and evenly. Now as you can see, it's fully down to the little slot in the outdrive, and you can still put the hex in the head. So I personally just run it just to protect the diff and the thrust bearing from getting dirt in it. Thank you guys for watching my YouTube channel and this video. Leave a comment and like if this video is helpful to you, and if you have any questions. And all these products I've used will be linked down below, especially those bearings, because that's stupid how it doesn't come with bearings. So I'll see you next video. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Subscribe so you can hit the notification bell. And I'll see you next time in another video.